Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our next matchup for UFC 322. This one, we got a fantastic clash at featherweight as Chepe Mariscal takes on Pat Sabatini. So this is going to be a rematch. These two fought back in 2018 at Victory FC, where Mariscal won a very close split decision. Now they rematch 7 years later, and we're going to see who's going to climb up the food chain in featherweight first. For Mariscal, he's currently 18-6 as a professional, 5-0 in his last five fights, currently riding a five-fight win streak. Meanwhile, Sabatini is 20-5 as a professional, 3-2 in his last five fights. Look at Mariscal and his wins, right? He wins a decision over Trevor Peek. They defeats Jack Jenkins after breaking his arm, essentially, when he went for the takedown. Wins a decision over Morgan Charrier, a decision over Damon Jackson, and most recently this March defeated Ricardo Ramos. For Sabatini, besides his losses to Damon Jackson, which is quite surprising, and his only other loss of recent years was to Diego Lopez, Sabatini's looked very, very good. Ran over Lucas Almeida like it was no problem. Ran over Jonathan Pierce, who's also a really good grappler. And then most recently dominated Joanne Sembrito like it was kind of nothing. I mean, I was quite shocked by that win. Well, I guess not so much by Sabatini winning, because Sabatini's a very, very good wrestler slash grappler. But the ease in which he handled Joanne Sembrito, who is historically a very dangerous fighter, he's got some grappling himself, is quite impressive. So for me in this fight, because I really love this fight, I think this is going to be an awesome high-paced fight. You have a battle of two fighters whose paths are quite distinct. I mean, I know they fought each other, but it's kind of interesting how their paths have changed. Yet, whose coverage in the cage with everything improved. You got Chepe, a relentless forward pressure or athlete, aptly nicknamed the machine gun because he never stops moving forward. He never stops throwing out any types of strikes or something to hurt. Someone who's built a career at this point on pressure, guts, and finishing attempts. And while you got Sabatini, decorated grappler, black belt in BJJ, a submission specialist whose game revolves all around control and methodical damage. And when these two styles meet, you're going to get pace versus power, pace and power versus precision and submissions. So, without further ado, let's break down this fight. So, looking at Chepe, Chepe is the kind of fighter who you recognize pretty instantly. Compact, physically strong for the weight class, constant pressure, and a mentality that says, I'm going to land big and I'm going to make you uncomfortable. And 5'7", and like I said, 18-6, 7 knockouts, 3 submissions to his name. What stands out for me is you look at Mariscal's striking accuracy, about 56%. It's really fucking good. And he avoids giving up big chunks of damage too. Now, granted, Mariscal also has a chin on him. He's taking some big shots and seemed fine. And Mariscal's very good, Chepe is very good at mixing his takedowns as part of his pressure game. He's not purely a fighter trying to outbox you. He's going to embrace the grind. And one key strength is pace. He doesn't, Chepe is not going to wait for the perfect shot like a fighter, like a sniper. That's the best word. He's not a sniper. He doesn't wait for that perfect shot. Chepe is going to work combinations, push the pace, force the opponent to react. And when his opponents are uncomfortable, well, his finishing chances rise up. Also, another key factor is the takedown defense. At 73%, Chepe actually has really good takedown defense. You don't really see that many people out wrestling, which means, like I said, when someone tries to out wrestle him, Chepe's not going to get outclassed. And I think he's going to hold his own against Sabatini in some aspects. But I also think Sabatini is still the best grappler he's fought, past and present. Now Chepe may not be elite in every department, but his forward momentum and just the ability to cause damage show a consistency. And at the end of the day, sometimes you do not need to be the strongest. Sometimes you don't need to be the fastest. But if you are consistent in your approach and using your attributes to win, he's got endless cardio, good chin, and knows exactly what his skills are at. You can win. Consistency wins fights at the end of the day. Now, there is one risk for me with Chepe. When his opponents force him into long range and he doesn't land the big shots, or when the pace drags him into decision territory, like a flash finish or something akin to that, And also, while Chepe's grappling is developing, his submission rate is lower than a top submission specialist. So, when matched with someone who excels in that domain, there is some more danger that increases in this fight, especially for me. Now, you have Pat Sabatini, who is completely different in every way, shape, and form in terms of his style. At 5'8", at 145 pounds, and carries the 25 record as I mentioned, his style is rooted in grappling, especially his BJJ. 12 of his wins come by submission, and Sabatini, he enters every fight with basically the same game plan. Take you down, threaten submissions, force you to scramble, and capitalize on that mistake. In the striking realm, I say Sabatini is competent, but not the one you pick to outstrike a pure brawler like Chepe. Now, where Sabatini's strength lies is in the transitions. Jab or strike to force reaction, then shoot or chain into the clinch, into the fence, and into the mat. If Mariscal gives if Mariscal gives Sabatini space to set those traps, Sabatini will exploit them. His wrestling base is strong, his submission awareness is very high, and he doesn't purely rely on luck. Fuck no. Sabatini, he is methodical at breaking down his opponents. Now, the big risk I have for Sabatini is against someone who can keep the fight upright and make him uncomfortable. His grappling advantage may shrink. If he is forced into a striking war, or if he eats heavy shots early, he may not get into the rhythm. In addition, if Mariscal is active and pushes the pace, Sabatini may struggle to find his takedown moments and may be forced into more volume striking than he prefers. Now, how does it look like when these two rematch each other? Because, like I said, 7 years, both guys are somewhat the same fighters, but also sometimes somewhat of different fighters. If Mariscal will aim to impose his pace early, he's going to want to keep this fight at striking range, cut angles, land significant shots, mixed in leg kicks, body work, and make Sabatini respect the striking early. And by doing so, he's going to prevent Sabatini from comfortably setting his grappling rhythm. And he'll want to use pressure to disrupt Sabatini's setups, push him to the back of the cage, and make him feel that heat. Sabatini, obviously, completely different strategy comes to mind. Feel out the striking, avoid big clean shots early, create scrambles, test takedown entries, work the clinch, and drag the fight into uncomfortable zones for Mariscal. Fence, mat, transitions. I think Sabatini's ideal scenario is to avoid being one-dimensional. Pick his moments and once he's in, use his submission game to end the fight or dominate the rounds. So the crossroad is here. If Mariscal keeps the fight at range, lands damage, and makes Sabatini reactive, I think Mariscal takes control. If Sabatini forces grappling, drags Mariscal into fence work or transitions, and neutralizes the striking, then Sabatini takes the advantage. Another layer you got to think of is the stamina and mental momentum of both these guys. Mariscal's style thrives when he's confident, pushing forward and setting the pace. If he backs up, pressured, and forcing uncomfortable positions, his rhythm can't break. Sabatini's style thrives when he has time and position. And if he gets behind early, his room to maneuver is going to shrink. So for my official prediction, I'm going to go with Chepe Mariscal to be 2-0 in the rematch. Or sorry, to make it 2-0 in the rematch. First, I believe Mariscal's pace and finishing instincts kind of give him the edge. I know he has not finished anybody as of recent in this 5-fight win streak, besides, taking Jack Jenkins down and Jack Jenkins breaking his arm as he tries to cushion the fall. Okay, fair enough. But Mariscal still does have some good finishes to his name, and he's still a very elite guy. I mean, shoot. He fought Steve Garcia in the regional scene, so it shows like Mariscal's fought elite competition outside the UFC too. And Sabatini's submission game is dangerous, but only if he can get to the ground and establish his control early. And I don't believe Sabatini will dominate in all the striking exchanges enough to keep Mariscal from implementing his pressure and power. In my view, I think Mariscal will land enough effective shots early, force Sabatini into reactive mode, and prevent the smooth grappling transitions that Sabatini wants. Second, I think Mariscal's takedown defense and forward momentum means he's in well positioned to avoid extending groundwork. Plus, he's got good grappling too, and he can scramble very effectively. You saw with like Ricardo Ramos, who, granted, I know makes some low fight IQ decisions, but he's still a Diego Lima shooter box prodigy, and those guys are great at scrambles. So, and I think Mariscal can use that to stay upright for majority of this fight. And if the fight stays mostly upright, then Mariscal has the advantage in the striking. Even if the fight hits the mats, I do think, like I said, I think Mariscal can scramble and pressure to make it messy and give him a chance to get up. Third, the stylistic matchup, I do believe, favors Mariscal's aggressiveness and volume over the more methodical pace of Sabatini. And while Sabatini is dangerous and a smart game planner, I think Mariscal's momentum and finish thirst gives him the edge in this bout. So my official prediction, I'm going to go with Chepe Mariscal. I'm probably leaning towards more of a decision. But I can see a late finish. I mean, Sabatini's shown to be chinny at times. I mean, he got knocked out bad by Diego Lopez, who, granted, I know it's hard, but he also got TKO by David Jackson in not too long. Granted, that fight was about 2 years ago, but it still shows. And I think, I think Chepe can get a late TKO in this one. I expect Chepe to control the center, to land clean shots, and avoid being dragged into Sabatini's best scenario and come out with the win. So once again, I'm picking Chepe Mariscal. I'm going with decision, but a late TKO would not surprise me. With that being said, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below who you think won. With that being said, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see y'all next time.